Thank you, Donnita, for sitting down with me again.
Yes.
Because the first time we did this, when I went back after a month or so, because sometimes it just takes me a long time to finally get my interviews out, my podcast out, and I learned that there was something wrong with the sound. And so, anyway, thank you again for doing this.
You just wanted to come back to Lincoln.
That's right.
You just wanted to hang out at the Lou one more time.
Just a reason to come back to the Lou. So let's jump right in this. Give me your 120-second story. Give us a little bit about yourself.
Wow, you think I should have practiced more in between that. But started out in Taloga, America. You always talk about Guthrie, America.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like to know how many people know where Taloga, America is. It's about 37 miles north of Clinton. Grew up in a very small town. We are the county seat, so if you had your 9th grade civics class, you should remember that we are a county seat of Dewey County. Grew up there. My dad was a soil conservationist. My mom was a teacher for many years. Graduated from Taloga High School, then went to Northwestern Oklahoma State University, where I was a Lady Ranger and played for Milburn Barton there. Several years later, I am in the Hall of Fame there. That was one
Look
of the,
at you.
I know, that was one of the most surreal nights of my life, and no one told me that when you accept your Hall of Fame award that you become a big baby. But I was like, oh my gosh, I was trying not to bitter beer face, slobber. It was horrible.
Now, was this when you walked up there and got it?
It's as you start to thank everyone for the honor and all that, and then you have flashes of, shooting on the dirt court and all the work that you put into, and just for that culmination to be, my parents were out in the audience, my family, my coach, and it was just no one prepared me for that. But so, not only the fact that basketball paid for my education, but just to be honored and I say on my home collegiate floor as well was a tremendous honor. So that was a very special time for me as well. After college, I taught for a semester in a small town called Vicey, Oklahoma, in western Oklahoma, because I graduated in December. So, my parents weren't going to let me chill out for a semester. So I went straight to work. After that, I coached and taught 4 years at Greenville, Texas. And that's by Commerce, Texas, where Texas A&M Commerce, where I also went and finished my master's while I was down there. Coached under Gene Davis, who was a retired brigadier general. So and he was coaching girls basketball.
Oh, so. My Lord. Now, did he bring all that generalness to coaching?
Yeah, to a certain extent. It wasn't as bad. He wasn't 2 inches from their face yelling or whatever, but he was very, very structured, very strict, and we're gonna run it 1,000 times until we have it. Yeah. So that part was good on the repetition, but I did have to be a little bit of a liaison. Okay, girls, there was really no softer side of Sears, so to speak, with Coach Davis, but I learned a lot from him, and the girls
What
did
is
too.
the one thing that you think you took away from that experience?
That sometimes repetition is a great thing. Sometimes when you're nervous and all that, because of the training that you had, that takes over, and you don't have to necessarily think your body reacts. Because there are some times I'm like, man, we have ran that a whole lot, but even in spite of running it, sometimes people may forget or whatever. And so when you see that, that as the season progresses and we have ran it 1,000 more times, that those mistakes happened less frequently. So it was really important.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then after that, I became the head women's basketball coach here at Langston, at the age of 27, and coached here 13 years. Then coached at Grambling State University for 4 years. Coached at Booker T. Washington High School for 2 years of that. I was the first female to coach boys basketball in Caddo Parish. It was a great experience as well. It was one of those things that I would say it's a part of my bucket list now, but I didn't even know that I wanted it. But I'm really, really blessed by that experience of coaching those young men.
Yeah.
And then after that, I landed here back at Langston University as the director of athletics. So I have hung up the whistle, and now my fingerprint or thumbprint is a little bit on all the sports here.
Yeah. What was the big difference between coaching boys and girls?
Um, I think that, no offense, but men tend to be a little bit more arrogant, I would
Okay.
think. So the 10th person that you would sub or whatever on the bench really thinks that they're going to the NBA.
Yeah.
And so feels like you're holding them back.
Yeah.
And they have a great confidence. I mean, sometimes that's one of the big differences. Also, I didn't have to worry about, coach, I just got my hair done or I got my nails done for prom. You don't have all that stuff.
Yeah.
They're always ready to play.
Yeah.
And young ladies, I feel like maybe they're maybe you can have some stronger, even emotional ties with them. But the ladies that I coach, sometimes you have to be careful because we tend to hang on to things a little bit longer than guys. Guys will push, shove, get out on the court, and the next day they're best friends.
Yeah.
And sometimes my female student athletes are a little bit like, I remember what you did to me last month. Yeah. And that's still kind of lingering on. But but it's great to be able to make those comparisons.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the biggest difference coaching wise was coaching on the female side of the game. I was never blessed to have a person that could dunk, but to be able to draw up a lob play and see that as a coach, like, man, yeah, we just got our first lob play and he flushed it. Yeah, that's awesome.
So when you first did that, when you sat down, you're like, oh, I can put together a lob play.
Yeah.
Was it just you called it something differently with girls, or was it really like, oh no, this is gonna be a lot, like I want you to dunk?
No, I had some very athletic, some very talented teams here in Langston, and usually when we ran it with my women's teams, it would be a lob and they would go up and we call it like a tip drill. So you catch it in the air and put it up. But now we could run the same thing and now you could dunk it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially though, same play.
Clear off everybody to one side to get around, lay it up, and send that baby home.
Yeah. How many different plays can you call up in basketball?
Oh, it just depends. A lot of people, it's more about the system than necessarily having structured plays. With the boys, we were more, and I did run that some my last few years coaching women's basketball, but with the boys, we did a lot of our offense coming out of transition. On defense, as soon as we caught it, we had some great transition offenses that we ran. And then I'm a big believer in, I love high-low. 3-guard front, great versatile high post, and a big man down low. That's my favorite. And,
is that the old schooling? Because they don't play basketball like that anymore.
No, some teams do. It's disguised. A lot of people are into more motion offenses and things like that. But I believe in, out of high-low, I kind of call it my hamburger helper offense because it comes in all different flavors. But when it all boils down, it's high-low.
Yeah.
So we get in it from a box, from a 4 straight. We can get in it from a 1-4 low. So all those different things have different looks. And it ultimately comes back down to that. And we did some motion offenses and stuff like that as well, but I felt like we were able to probably put in a little bit more material with the boys just for the amount that they're in the gym and how much that they practice. Yeah,
that's cool. Who's the greatest NBA coach of all time?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go. You said NBA. Phil Jackson, I guess. I'll have to look at, that was during the Michael Jordan time and all that era. I mean, they had their stuff down pat. Yeah, unbelievable.
Did you see?
And as a player, like sometimes whenever you're a player, sometimes it doesn't always transition to your coaching style, but he was a beast on the floor and off. Yeah.
Did you see a big difference in him between? And I don't know. Are you an NBA fan?
I watch a lot. I really like the collegiate game a little bit more.
Okay.
I like the old school NBA a little bit more than I do now.
Old school like Lakers, Magic Johnson.
Yeah, during that time,
Detroit
Shaq,
Pistons.
even Shaq and all
Shaq,
that coming up. But like now, I just there's some great players, but I feel like the game is watered down. When you watch an NBA game, you don't want small children watch because they walk. They take 3 or 4 steps all the time, not sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes you don't see the defense that you want to see until playoffs start. And so I don't know. I think back in the day, that's why they're all beat up. They have to wear tennis shoes every day too.
Yeah.
So I like that style.
You you get that all the time. Is what you're saying.
Yes.
You feel like in college ball, it's always on.
Yeah.
Because they're still trying to prove themselves.
Yes.
They're trying to get to that next level. Once you're at the next level, the season's so long, 82 games.
82 games, you're trying to save yourself. I mean, it's hard to go all out. That's why it's so important, that youth. And it's hard to believe that, now at 30 almost, you having to start thinking about your longevity in the game because you play so much,
Yeah. Even at a young age, you just played a lot of games. And a lot of those young guys, they play pickup games. Like, they're just trying to play basketball every chance they get.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, now what did you think you would be doing growing up?
Wow, I mean, ironically, but when I went to college, I started out pre-med, and I thought I was going to be in sports medicine or something like that. Had a chemistry professor that really encouraged me to apply for a mock medical school that they had that was really focused on minorities in medicine. That was at Texas College of Osteopathic Medicine in Fort Worth on the campus of TCU. So after my freshman year, I was accepted and went there for the entire summer and learned so much. Started to kind of have a little bit of seeds of doubt put in my head about if I was really ready to study at the level that I needed to for med school. At this mock medical school, we had a lot of people from Puerto Rico, all over. Some people had already graduated. I was probably one of the three youngest in the whole program. And many of them, some were married, some were, just adults. And their focus and level to concentrate was a lot better. I was very frustrated as I studied and, pulled some C's and a couple of D's and really had some doubt coming in. Then I hit organic 2 when I got back to college, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to a doctor that made a C.
Yeah.
So, started really having some doubts, and really, I think God uses. I learned a lot from that experience. That some things I've never forgotten. I think I told you last time about my experience in the cadaver lab.
Yeah.
With the. Well, we were following one of the medical students around and shadowing them that day, and he showed us one of the largest nerves, the ulnar nerve, that runs down the arm, and he was flicking to show us the strength, and a piece of that flew off and hit me almost in the mouth, and I had the decision, like, do I pass out, do I make it, do I go put some Clorox on my face now, or what? But some stuff like that obviously is unforgettable to this day, and to this day I still remember the name of that nerve, and so I guess that hit home.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I got back, I just realized too that I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to, I guess, be at my happiest during the medical school part. But now, even with sports, it's nice to kind of know what's going on, what muscles affect it, whatever. So I'm still utilizing a lot that I learned. Also, I had like 36 hours of biology and chemistry. So actually, I have a teaching certificate for biology, which a lot of people may not know. And I have used that. I've taught biology in high school before.
Okay.
Even
Is that what you taught at Booker T?
Actually, I did, and I was in health physical education there, and did some athletic administration for the middle school there as well. But I have, I'm trying to think too. I've also, when I first got out of college, when I told you that my parents weren't going to let me sit at home, I also had to teach some math, which was interesting. I do not like math that well at all, but that was a great learning situation for me as well. So to me, if it wasn't really tied into stats or something like that, I can remember what pi was, but all the jokes they made about that, but that's about
Other
it.
than that, your math, So going into school, thought medical, you get out. When did you start thinking coaching?
Well, I started really thinking about my last semester. I went to my undergraduate lasted 4 years. In my last semester, because I did change my major, and you cannot student teach while you're playing ball because you have to be at the over in the teaching the classroom, getting your
yeah.
hours in. So I had to come back that semester, and so I also assisted with the women's team. And Coach brought me in, helped scholarship me some to help finish up my degree. And so I really liked it. I'd actually done a basketball camp like my junior year in high school that was in a small town in western Oklahoma. And I was like, I think I can do this. And I learned so much. I'm a little bit older, so I actually played the 6-on-6 style in high school and then had to go to the 5-on-5 game in college. And so I learned so much really on the style of play, what we're looking for, the nuts and bolts, so to speak, of 5-on-5 play from my college coach. And so I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can, teach other people. And my high school coach, Rogers, was a huge influence on me. And I was like, man, if I can impact one person the way he did me, then I think this would be the perfect career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transitioning from 6-on-6 to 5-on-5, right? Was that a hard transition? And what did you have to do within yourself to make that transition?
Well, obviously you're going full court every time down the trip, but every trip down the floor. But I think the biggest thing was, honestly, looking back and seeing the wear and tear on people now, AAU was not at the level that it is now, where a lot of people feel like they have to play AAU and pretty much play year-round to be able to have an opportunity to play collegiate ball. But I feel like it probably saved me and helped me get through those 4 years without an injury, because the wear and tear is a lot different.
Because you weren't going full.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Still playing hard. It was still. I love the speed. I love the style of the 6-on-6 game. But it wasn't hard to transition to go into a new style of play because. Even growing up, I mean, I played with my cousins. I played with boys. I played with, so it's like,
so you still play.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It's not like I've never played full court,
yeah.
but you had played it.
Yeah.
Because if you play street ball, you typically nobody's playing 6-on. I mean,
right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, unless you're playing 21, half court, all that other stuff. But
yeah.
Growing up with my cousins, I've had the bloody nose, all that. Dirt in your mouth, all that. Yeah.
Yes. So earlier you talked about playing on a dirt court. What was that like? So you played on dirt court when?
So I think it was like summer of my eighth grade, maybe my summer of my eighth grade year going into my freshman year. My dad, I had the Mecca. I had my own goal, and we put it outside. It was grass. He didn't do the cement and all that stuff. My little sister ended up with the cement court later, but and he had. I mean, we're in western Oklahoma. We have everybody can weld, so I had the real steel pole put in with cement, the backboard. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was on a grass court outside. Go in and get your shots up, all that outside.
Yeah.
Funny angles of the ball, how it may bounce if you hit a
A
grass
rock or
clog.
whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, all of those I think were a big part in my development. So there's no excuse not to go out and get shots up and get a feel for the ball. I really worked on my left hand that summer, and that was one of my, calling cards is that I could use both hands, even in high school and even in college. So, yeah.
When did your parents realize, like, oh, she may have something here?
Ironically, the basketball gene started out for years. My mom had a black and white picture of her team. She graduated from Wainwright High School in Oklahoma. And she started as a freshman. So I would hear stories of that. I could see her, I could always see the team. And one of the things was like, okay, so I've got to work and get to the point where I can start as a freshman. And up until...
And that's because your mom started as a freshman?
Yeah, because I was like, I'm not going to let her beat me.
So you're super competitive. You got a super competitive story that you've told me about.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that one.
Yes,
I'll go to that one.
Yes, but tell me about your... I don't think you told me this last time.
I don't think I did either.
Your mom started, so I'm glad we met.
Yeah.
So your mom started freshman, so now you feel like you have to start as a freshman.
I feel like I just will not be worthy of any type of basketball gene or anything if I can't start as well as a freshman.
Yeah.
Isn't that horrible, kind of? But it really is. I'm being totally honest. I'm
Yeah.
not sure she even really knows this.
Okay, yeah. So tell us.
So I looked at this for years, and I was always kind of concerned in the back of my mind because up until Daryl Rogers came there, the freshmen didn't play in high school, only sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So the end of my 8th grade year, my best friend Christy also started throughout our high school career, and he has a conversation with you. You know, we play summer basketball. He's like, I want you guys to know, I want y'all to work hard this summer, and I'm going to allow freshmen to play on the high school team next year. And in my inside, I was like, ooh, it is on.
Yeah.
I just got to earn this spot this summer.
So that's the summer of your 8th grade year.
That's the summer going into, my summer, my 8th grade year, getting ready to go into my
your
freshman year. Yeah.
So he tells
I've
you
got
that
the
at
summer
the end
to
of the-
work to
Okay.
see if I can start. But the story you're talking about was going back when I first went to basketball camp at Northwestern, ironically, where I ended up playing college basketball. And I just remember, fifth grade year, I think it was 5th grade year going into 6th grade year, the coaches lined us up. We had this one-on-one drill, and they just threw everybody in junior high and high school together. And it's half of you underneath the basket, half of you at half
And
court.
you're in what grade?
I'm in 6th grade.
6th
then.
grade.
Yeah.
But you're doing this with high school and
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm in 6th grade then, and we get to working, and I get down to like the last 3 or 4 people going. Of course, the elementary people and junior high, they're like so excited, for me that I'm playing I'm playing high school players and all that, doing well. And it's not one of those. It's like if you shoot and the person rebounds, then you're out. Does that make sense? Whoever makes it, whoever makes it first, and the person if you make it, you're out. I mean, if you make it, the other person that was playing defense is out. Okay, so if you shoot it and the other person, rebounds, you keep playing. But whenever it is a make, it's over.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, it was, and so anyway, I get down to the last 3 or 4 and I lose, and I'm just like, I didn't know that fire was in me, and I'm just like, I kept trying to tell myself, you weren't even supposed to be there anyway, but it didn't ever make a difference. Like, I couldn't comfort myself with that, I guess, and so it was one of those things. I just remember an early prayer, I was talking to God, like, I think God taught me a lot from that, and I also talked to players and coaches about that moment when you find out when hard work and focus on something, on a goal, writing it down and all that other good stuff, that's real.
Yeah.
So I made up my mind that the next year I was going to work, and that was my focus. I mean, it was going to take something crazy to get that trophy out of my hand.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a plaque. But so worked the whole year, went back as a 7th grader, and had that one-on-one drill. Been waiting on it, nerves, trying to figure out how to do it, nerves. So I was like, there was a little bit of doubt. The devil tried to get me a little bit about, like, what if you worked a whole year and it still happens again? But it was like, they're gonna have to have something special to get this from me. So, but anyway, everything worked down, came to the last 2, and I was just like, oh my God, look.
So you are the last 2.
Yes, I'm like,
so
look.
it's you, and what grade is the person?
She's like a sophomore, junior.
Okay.
Yeah, so go in, finally get that shot, it goes down, and literally your knees like buckle, and you're just like, oh my God, I did it. A whole year to work on something and come back and have the opportunity to see this. And, all the younger ones, everyone's going crazy.
Yeah.
All the high school girls are like, oh my God, but I just will never forget that moment. And, I mean, a lot of people, you wait a long time for answered prayers, or you put in a lot of work, and it's like some things just aren't add water and shake.
Yeah.
You have to really grind, and you have to be committed day after day to reaching that goal. So I'm so glad that God allowed me to have that success and learn that lesson then, and I think that's really shaped my work ethic for the remainder of my life. And I do believe that if I write it down, I pray about it, and I'm intense and focused about it, I do believe that it's going to come to fruition. And majority of the time, it has. And if it hasn't, I just believe it hasn't been time
Yeah,
yet.
or that
Yeah.
wasn't for you. Now, me knowing you for the years that I've known you now, I can definitely see that. Now that sitting here listening to you, okay, so you have that moment. Then you do your 8th grade, the year from your 8th grade to your freshman year, your coach tells you, hey, you're going to play for high school,
And
right?
I started.
You started.
And I learned from that. All right, I won.
Yeah, so but you
Yeah.
put in the work for that. You've already said, well, I knew like that summer I'm going to do whatever I
Right.
can because you already know your mom's done it, so now
Yeah.
you got to do it.
Yeah.
And then you later on, you become a coach, right? And so you transition and become a coach. Then you coach guys and not just, but all these things you continue to work hard
Right.
to get to where you're at.
And I think that when I go back to the summer, whenever I found out that I was going to have the opportunity to coach the young men at Booker T. Washington High School, my principal at that time was a former collegiate athlete at Centenary and former athlete. And he came in at the end of the school year, and we were having, the parish was having some funding issues and all that, but he came in and he was just like, Coach, I want to talk to you about something. I was like, yeah. He's like, how do you feel about coaching the boys next year? And I was like, the high school boys? He's like, yeah, the whole boys. You have to do freshman, JV, and varsity. And I was like, I said, really? And he was like, what, you think you can't do it? And that is all, like, I'm like, you didn't even let me exhale before you just.
Yeah.
So you already know how that went over. So I just like, well, I was like, can I go home, talk to my husband, pray about it? A little bit. He's like, yeah, but I really need to kind of know tomorrow. So it was like,
Oh, like the pressure's on.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you why he said that. So I go home and talk to my husband, and I was like, the more I think about it, I had an hour commute. I was like, man, it's. And then he had that, what, you think you can't do it? He had to add that on there. So I was like, you know what? I'm going for it. I'm going to do it. So then he tells me, once I've committed, he's like, well, I also want you to know I'm getting ready to go work at the main office as the athletic director for the parish, so I won't be here. So now he's named me as the head boys basketball coach, and he won't even be there to kind of run some interference, whatever. So the whole summer, starting out, obviously some former alumni, former coaches, diehard Booker T. Washington fans were a little bit upset that he hired a woman. And I love his answer, and I really try to live by that when I make hires too. He was like, if you cover up her picture in her resume and portfolio, she's the most qualified person to do it. And I'm giving her a chance. And I can say that all of our big games and tournaments, he was at every one of them. We made to the finals of the Thanksgiving tournament, which was a big deal in that parish. My first year, lost in that one. In my second year, we won it. All my major big games, he was still there. It was amazing. My last year there, we were ranked as high as number 5 in the nation. In Louisiana. And they do their state tournament a little bit differently. They take the top 4. Whereas here, when you go play in the city, the big house, they take the top 8. So we finished in top 8, and we lost our quarterfinal round at home by 4 points. And I can remember that like it was yesterday as well.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's cool. That's really cool. Do you have a moment that stands out to you as a coach?
Gosh, I have so many. I remember my former assistant coach, Tony Green, who is now the first assistant coach at Ole Miss. It was surreal over Christmas break. I had the opportunity to go see him coach in Mississippi, and one of the first times that I've really seen him coach and not been on the chairs with him on the sideline. But I'm so proud of him. But I can remember, at the end of the season, dreaming and thinking about how are we going to get to the NEI National Tournament. I know we've got players. I know we're recruiting. What's different? I remember the year before we actually went, going and sitting down and watching games at the National Tournament 8 hours a day. And, finally we got there. We used to dream about it. I think that when God has really given me the ability to put myself into a situation, So going back to winning the one-on-one contest, I saw what the plaque looked like the year I lost it, and I just wanted to picture the looks and how everyone felt, how I felt differently when the situation changed. So I think that we always dreamed about what it was going to be like, how we would have to prepare. And I used to say too, I just can't wait to be one of the coaches in that field of 32 and hear the national anthem and my coach and hear my team introduced. Like, I used to dream about what that was going to feel like. And so when it happens, like, you kind of feel like it's a deja vu because I've been thinking and dreaming about it for so long, but there is nothing as good as actually being there. And so we just, it's about having the right culture around you and having players that see your vision and then your coaching staff that sees your vision. And I think that's some of the main ingredients on trying to get to the next level. I've had major disappointments. Lost by 2. We didn't get to go to the national tournament. I've had one at the last minute to go to the national tournament. So I've had all of those great opportunities to just remember and reflect on and cherish. I think everybody has I'll coach a memory scrapbook. And so with Facebook and all those things, I've been extremely blessed to watch some of my players marry, have families, watch their children now. One of my post players, her daughter is an unbelievable athlete. Another one of my post players actually signed 2 years early for Ole Miss. Wow. And I can remember her as a little girl in the gym, sitting there soaking, watching her mom practice. And so, God's given me the opportunity to see all those things come to fruition, and that's exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What was it like making the transition? Because you're athletic director now. What is that transition like going from coach to AD?
I tell people a lot that I was kind of concerned about that myself, but right now my wins come differently. And so I like to travel on the road, and if I see our players doing well, I see them succeeding in the classroom, being great servant leaders. One of the things is in Love OKC, when our men's team was there, watching them sweat, they came back the next day. A lot of them were sunburned, everything. They worked with the food boxes, putting that out. So they were outside a lot. They didn't have the air conditioned part that some of the rest of us got to enjoy that day as we were working. But those things make me super proud. There's a lot of little moments when I see them do things and I kind of have oof. I can't be too emotional. Sometimes a tear tries to just jump out on me. But I talked to you a little bit about one of our senior men's basketball players, Latarius Lloyd. We were talking a little bit the other day about the books, whenever I was doing the book club with you guys, and being able to share and talk about that with him, he gets it, and recommending a book and then being able to talk about it, and I don't know, I've just seen him grow so much. Those are really, really special moments. And I see the young ladies. A lot of times I see them in their coming off the field or court or whatever, but to see them at athletic banquets or see them when they're succeeding and they're called for being on the President's Honor Roll or something. Those are real special times.
Yeah, incredible. So you talked about wins as athletic director, and you kind of just talked about some of those. What are some things that you are consistent in? You say, hey, these are some of the right things you need to be consistent in order to be the best AD possible.
I think that the first thing is you've got to really grow some thick skin. So sometimes as an athlete, you work hard. Maybe a lot of people know you for your performance on the court or whatever. I think there's an opportunity to make even more mistakes as an athletic director. Sometimes we don't make the decision that, that maybe bomb, that theme night or whatever that you tried, it didn't go over well. Or you have one faction of alumni that get upset about, I don't know, the ticket price or something else that happened. And those things are hard. You cannot take things personal, and you cannot make 100% of the people happy. And so it used to be, you just had to play hard, contribute, and win the game, and everybody's going to leave happy, but it's not like that. And now you can win and someone still be mad about something, so that part is hard. also now I'm not only having to ultimately be responsible for my student athletes, but now you have the faction where I have graduate assistants, I have coaches, I have trainers, I have other directors and administrators on campus, I have so many different other levels that have a little bit of piece of me, because when we get ready to plan for homecoming, so to speak, you know, you have to have everybody from security to the physical plant to the food service, to alumni affairs, to an alumni representative. It just grows and grows. You have to have PR, marketing, crisis management chair. It's just a lot. And then when we have those big events, you're like, hey, everybody's meeting here, and hey, you're up. What do you need? And so sometimes that's surreal too, when you have 18 people looking back up at you like, all right, you know, all right, it's just a different type of team and a different type of goal.
Yeah, because it's all teamwork.
It is.
Yeah, for sure. That's good.
We couldn't do a game without all of us.
Yeah.
Especially on a small campus, you know, we all wear many hats.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you talked about culture. You mentioned the culture earlier. What is culture to you? What is culture to you, and what are some things that you do to help create the culture you want to see for your team?
I think I'm still in the process of doing that.
Yeah.
Some people buy in a little bit quicker than others, and then sometimes you have to realize some people haven't been exposed to different thoughts of training. And I'm the type of person, I'm excited. Like I want to learn something new every day. All right, and you know, even in the morning when I start out and I have devotion or whatever, I'm just hoping. You know, when you've read that scripture, you know, at least 30 times, and then he just like slaps you, bam, with something.
Yeah.
Like, but I love those moments, and I want to be able to look and grow on something, whatever that is. But I am a reader. I love reading.
Yeah.
I don't always have the time to do it like I used to.
Yeah.
But those things are important. I want to try to expose my staff, especially the younger ones, to hey, you know, read a book about this. You know, push yourself to read one a month, or if not, I'm going to read 4 in the summer. You know, push yourself to evaluate yourself and ask some hard questions about what did you see in my performance. So we're trying to always pour into our staff, and hopefully that trickles down. We try to meet with our student athletes and try to pour into them. We try to look for internships, opportunities. A lot of them have come up to Tanisha McKinney, my assistant athletic director, who also played for me. She's one of those two that has that work ethic and that sikkim, which I knew that was going to translate into a great administrator. And we have a lot of our student athletes like, hey, I think I want to do what you do. I'm like, are you sure? We let them shadow us, do some internship stuff with us, and you know, I'm hoping that, you know, now our thumbprint will be on future administrators at NAI level, NCAA, as well as coaches and players and all that. Yeah, we're getting ready to broaden this out.
Yeah, that's cool. That is cool. Because there's not a bunch of women in your role.
No, there's not.
What advice do you give young ladies who want to become AD or? Well,
one of the things in the Red River, and we were in the Red River Conference, we're in the Sooner Athletic Conference right now, and there are only 2 women that have football. So there are other women that are in programs that don't necessarily have football, but a lot of times it's even hard to get hired at a football school because they feel like you don't know enough about, that's one of the, you know, a lot of people will be upset to hear me say it, but they call it the Big 3. Right now in Oklahoma, it's football, men's and women's basketball that really draw your bigger crowds or whatever now. So
men's and women's
basketball. Right, men's and women's basketball. So, you know, they don't feel like you know enough about that one to be able to really lead the department or whatever. But I've been very blessed. I do not know football to the level that I know basketball, but I've learned a lot. Spent several years calling doing radio with Maurice Prince, with KVSP, and they do CBS Sports in Oklahoma City, and he's taught me, you know, so much. Sometimes, the radio broadcast, you're there 30 minutes before the game and 30 minutes after, and you're just swimming in football. And so, I can see RPO, run pass option. I can see shotgun set. I can see a lot of things now. And sometimes
that you couldn't see before.
Yeah, most definitely. So I go to sleep now, and sometimes I can still hear him talking. Like, we've got trips to the near side of the field and blah, blah. And I can hear those things. And then, just looking at, hey, the defense is in prevent. We're really running zone. It's like, so those things are starting to become clear to me. And
that's what he's talking about is you're seeing
right,
it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot. And then when we're on commercial or something, I'll ask questions about that because, and I still have a little bit of problems getting, like when we're about to score a touchdown or something or something crazy happens and we get a fumble, it's still hard. Like, oh my God, you're on radio and you can't, when you were talking about going up, you can't holler or whatever.
Yeah.
So still trying to stay very composed.
So do they teach you that? Do they remind you of that, or is that just something that you?
Sometimes I just get that look after I've already done it, and
like you messing up.
Or he just quickly, lowers my mic or whatever. But I've learned a whole lot that way.
But that goes back to, I think, what I kind of see from you is the culture that you're trying to create here is one of learning. Like, always be willing to learn. And so you're saying, I don't know football, but I'm going to go jump in this. And it goes back to, like, just you talking about a lot of different things and putting in the work to become the best at it. And so that's really cool to see you do that.
Thank you.
I don't know if you communicate that to other people, like even to your team. Do you go back and say, hey, one of the reasons I'm doing this currently is to learn, and this is how I'm learning more? Do you go back and kind of teach them?
I think I let them know that how much the reading part is important, and so I share with them. And a lot of times I do quotes to start out my staff meetings, and I'll tell them where it came from. Or sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, that was a real good one," or whatever. And sometimes I don't get very much feedback, but so. I believe you've had him on your show maybe a couple times, Derek Sire.
All
right. So he's actually did one of my first staff development a few years ago, and his first book, Big Team. That's one of my staples, or go-to one. So Stevie Taylor, our assistant,
small stories, big team.
Right. So when Stevie Taylor first got here on board with Coach Stitt, that's one of the books that I gave him. It was like, okay, we're gonna start reading this, and we'll talk a little bit about it. And so that's kind of one of my first things, because I love how it starts out with talking about the team glue, and all that, and how, and that's important. You guys, you're new coaches on staff. There's still all kinds of residual things left from the previous coach, and from coaching style, all the other good stuff. And I think that, and ironically, that's in the first chapters. I think that's really, really important. So that's a good sounding board for us to start out on. What are you going to do to start bringing your team together and all that. So I don't think they really get how much I like to learn, but I don't know. Some of them do. Some of them do.
I mean, I'm not just around you as much as they are. So if they don't pick up on that, I would think something's going on. But what is your advice to that person out there who wants to play collegiate ball at some point? There's a student listening to this, or a parent who's working with their child to one day play collegiate ball in some way. Do you have any?
I do, and I really appreciate that question. I think that first and foremost, you need to do a real quick survey of yourself and think about what you're willing to put in at the next level. And so look at, were you consistent? Were you, I guess, extremely impactful? There are some people, I'm not going to say that you had to have started in high school, but most of the time, you were either you should have been the girl or the guy. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest. Coaches have to keep their job, Hetty. You may be really nice and all that, but if you didn't play, you can't play at this level.
But you have parents
Yes, they have parents that still think that coach in high school just didn't give she a shot. And so you have to do a real assessment. And I want people to know, too, that collegiate sports, although extremely rewarding, it is very, very difficult. I've told you how much I loved basketball and what it meant to me. There were times in preseason where you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like, it's tiring. You've got all your studies don't stop. The average students, they still do that or whatever, but you've got 20 or more hours a week plus when you start traveling or whatever. And, used to be I just got to try to make it to November when they throw the ball up. You're just so ready to look at someone else and play someone else. But, it is a job. Like, it's different. It tests your level of love for the sport when you play collegiately because you have film, you have practice. You're sometimes, like one time when I was at Grambling, we went on a road trip. We were gone like 10 days over Christmas break, played like, 5 teams or whatever as we were working on guarantee money and things like that. And so sometimes you're just like, I love you, but I'm tired of you.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. It's some of the hardest memories, but some of the best memories that you have later on. But not everybody is built for collegiate sports, and you need to think about how much you love it. Because if you hated it when your coach made you run 2 miles in high school, what are you going to do when you start out preseason and you got 4 miles a day and 5 miles on Friday?
Yeah.
So it's totally different.
Yeah.
And, I want parents to let their son or daughter call the coach and initiate all those things. You can be there, have it on speakerphone, and be guiding them. But that college coach wants to see that you, Hetty Coleman, you want to play for me, not mom. Because it's something weird. Like, is that student athlete living the parent's dream or is it their dream?
Yeah.
And so that's real important that, they research it. Also research the style of play of the coach that you're going to and the program. All right, so maybe you don't like high-low offense or whatever, and you're used to this structured, it's run and gun or whatever. Well, there's some coaches you don't need to play for.
Yeah. Now, do high school students know that? Are they aware of, like, this is the style of basketball I like to play before they, at that age?
I'm glad you asked that. You kind of threw me a assist on that one, too, because if that is a question that you can't answer, you might not be ready for college basketball.
Okay.
All right? So hopefully you're a student of the game, whether it be NBA style or you have a college team that you like to follow or whatever, but you should kind of be able to answer some of those questions. Yeah.
So what I hear you saying is, like, if you have not played, like physically played these different styles, you should at least be aware of them based on what you've seen.
Right.
Yeah, and can kind of gravitate like, oh, that's the kind of ball I would like to play.
Yeah.
Even though you're currently not playing that.
Yeah.
But from seeing, okay, yeah.
And also knowing too, just like on run and gun style or whatever, if you know that you've been in a kind of a slower down setup, a methodical system or whatever, you may not excel at that. But you may have been like the thoroughbred on that team that you were always maybe a little held back or frustrated by the structure. And so you do need to go play for that team. But those are some real questions that you need to, answer for yourself. And go watch practices. When you narrow it down to 2 or 3, ask for the opportunity to go and look at those practices and visit and, see how that coach acts in practice on game day. One of the things I talked to you about, I did not play for a cursor in high school. He could look at you crazy and just make you almost have a breakdown. I mean, he did not have to, I won't say he didn't raise his voice because that did happen, but he did not have to call us out of our name or curse at us at all to get us motivated by any means. And we hated disappointing him. And those are things that you need to look for. If you hear all that stuff going on in your household all day and you're used to it, then you might be able to thrive or be successful in that.
Yeah.
And my college coach was the same way as my high school coach. He was not a cursor or anything like that. Yeah.
So you never experienced that. So then did you end up in the role you're in now as an AD? Have you had the experience?
Oh, I have. Yeah. We're going to leave that one there. Yeah. It's really hard. Because everybody's going to tell you what you want to hear during the interview.
Yeah.
But what they say, when you apply pressure, what is in you comes out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's real.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, last question. So we kind of just talked about some suggestions for students who, if you want to play collegiate ball, here are some things that you want to think about. And I guess that it would go for football too. There may be different styles of football played as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
Or does that kind of go into, what else do y'all have? Y'all have here football,
volleyball,
softball,
indoor and outdoor
basketball, indoor and outdoor track. Is that the same across all sports?
I would
As far
say,
as kind of learning the different styles?
I would say track is a little bit different. And even my track athletes are a little bit different. But, you have to be, I appreciate a track athlete. That's a special kind of something that you got to go out and, I just told you how I felt about preseason basketball, but they do that every day. And more, and twice a day. And then they have weights in the morning, and they run in the morning, and then their workouts in the afternoon. I'm like, that's a special mental part that I'm not sure that I would have been capable of. So I am so glad I wasn't, running the mile to win as a 7th grader. I probably would be in athletics or something like that.
Now, when are they going to put band under sports?
Why would you ask that? You don't feel like I have enough work?
I just think.
You feel like it goes together?
Yes. I just think that, like, cheerleaders.
Yes,
okay, cheerleaders. Because band works just as hard as any other sport.
I'm going to tip my hat, so to speak, to Mark Gordon, our director of bands. He is, he's a beast. And I have to agree with you. It should make me feel some kind of way, but I have watched their preseason camp, and it's every bit as difficult as football.
Yeah.
They don't flip tires or hit pads or whatever, but I know that there are times that they cannot feel their quads or their legs. I mean, they literally work 6 to 8 hours a day.
And
then you got to learn your music.
You got to learn the music.
Yeah. That's just the physical part of it.
I couldn't. No, I'll look at it, my bow down.
And amazing.
Going from high school to college, like I've been around high school band, but then I going to college, and then I went to a HBC. Like, HBC is football in the sense of, like, people come to watch them at some schools. Like, I went to Bethune-Cookman. We just got there for halftime, and then we left after because we wanted to see the band. It's a big deal like that. And so, no, band is no joke.
So, and that's an important element. When I talked about all those people at the table, like when we prepare for our big games and things, so we have band there as well. And they're an integral part of even when we prepare for a away trip. So it's like he's got these entities, and now this year our band was so big they had 4 buses when they travel, and next year they're anticipating 300 in the band, which will mean 6 buses, and you can do the math on that.
Oh my goodness!
6 buses. Last year we had 140 freshmen that were in the band, and the band is absolutely phenomenal. They're starting to become their own rolling entity. They're invited everywhere. They put in the work, and they're amazing to watch perform.
How do bands make money?
Well, sometimes do
y'all pay for that?
No, I don't have to. The university does support, the majority of their travel.
Okay.
They did have one of our football classics where their travel and their food was paid for, but hopefully, like, sometimes you'll see some of the bigger SWAC bands maybe that have a television appearance or something like that. You can earn money that way. Okay. And a lot of times when you play the bigger universities, they will give you a little bit of money that helps subsidize the band getting there, because everybody understands the magnitude of that game atmosphere changes when that band is there and that performance. That's another thing that helps bring crowds to the game.
So it's almost an added, it's an added value to have them there, and the sports recognizes that.
It's an added value for us and even our coaches when we have the pet band here. And I'm not sure if the last time you came, I don't think the band was here, but I think you've been here when we've had the band.
No, but y'all had a DJ.
Yeah, we did. Is that unusual? Yeah. It is?
Well, no, I went to HBC.
We may take that for granted, but yeah, we have a great DJ.
Yeah, no. So I went to Cookman, HBC. We had a DJ there at the basketball games.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
so some nights we had the DJ and the band, and
I've never been to a majority white school where a DJ was at the basketball game.
Okay.
Have you?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I have not. No. So I don't know if that's I don't know, but I like it.
Oh,
I think a DJ.
Not everybody can handle it, especially when the band's here. I love to just I'm usually like kind of behind the scores board, and I love to watch the visiting teams during the timeouts, how their coach is trying to command their attention, and we've got the felines dancing, and it's so they can't hardly look at that clipboard. It just tickles me.
Yeah. And your athletes are used to it. It's part of what they do every
game. But they're
game.
not. This is I really want to sit down and watch and not play. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that is, no, I love it. I like the idea. My son and I need to go. Zell really enjoyed our last game that we came to.
Yes, you've got to come back and stay the whole time.
Yes, I think you just come
really
and chill.
Absorb it all.
Yeah. So my work for the year is less, and so I'm trying to create less so I can do more stuff like just
That's
come
good.
hang out and
I like that.
And let him experience, and then he's gonna come hang out with on campus some too. So I'm excited for that for him. So anyway, well, I appreciate you sitting down with me and let me do a redo.
Okay, hold on. I got one more thing. So I know that are you into the Red Sox? Are they on today?
Every day.
All right. So I'm requesting. I know you went out and you told everyone that you're gonna wear them every day or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have a first cousin to your Red Sox. I have some Langston LU socks.
LU.
And I would like for you to be able to take a reprieve and wear your Langston socks at least one day during this year. Could you do that for me? All right,
I can definitely. I can pull that off. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Hetty Coleman Podcast. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go win.
And L's up.
L's up.